Ryan Reich. I am doing a podcast. I had an idea last week that it would be fun to do a fun podcast and a video YouTube thing that was like fun and candid, and we could drop F-bombs and talk about stuff, and maybe it's not for everybody, and maybe this isn't for you. Me and my friend Mike Nightmare sat down last night and talked over Skype. He's in China, and he and I talked for about almost an hour, and we got to know each other a little bit better, and I think it was a lot of fun, and I'm gonna show it all to you. There are some things to warn you if you're watching the video, and if you see if you're offended by like a market in China that maybe had a bunch of animal parts, there's a little image of that. I threw in images, so if you're listening to this, you'll still get all of it because we just talked. But I consume a lot of media and mostly podcasts. I don't watch TV anymore. I watch podcasts on YouTube in my garage at night. That's where I'm at right now. I'm in my garage. This is like where I'm normally putting handles on cups, but I turned it into a podcasting studio, and I'm using my MacBook, and I did splurge on a mic. Probably doesn't make me sound any better, but whatever. I mean, whatever. Anyways, me and Mike talked, and I thought it was really fun, and hopefully you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you at the end. See you or talk to you at the end of the podcast. Okay, cool. So, all right, dude. Well, I'm stoked that we're doing this, and if you can see on your screen, me and Mike, we both wore the same shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you go to that in Topeka?
No, I missed the last.
I didn't either, and I always
last two, I think.
People are always like, "That's a cool shirt." I'm like, "Yeah, it is." Like, yeah, it's so much play kids that did a cool thing, and I just wear the shirt. But
yeah, exactly.
Whatever. So yeah, dude, thanks for coming on to this podcast thing. If you guys are tuning in or listening or watching, this is Mike Millam, aka Mike Nightmare, and this is the first official podcast for Clay as a 4-letter word. So
awesome.
Yeah, this is kind of exciting. I did my little trailer yesterday, and it was kind of fun. It's kind of weird. I'm out in my garage talking to myself. Whatever.
Yeah, that's always
It's what it just kind of is what it is. So I guess I just kind of, you got a really cool story to tell about kind of what you've been. I mean, before you you made a big move, you had a cool story, but then now you have a really cool story about like, kind of like, let's move to another part of the world and like start over. So I guess like start wherever you want, but like, what's your story?
Well, I'm currently living in Qingdao, China, but I am originally from Orange County, California. Well, Whittier, which is Los Angeles County. But once I got married to my wife, Rebecca, we are Orange County. So I worked there for 12 years in the Anaheim Union High School District, and I started out as a photography teacher, and that's what I loved doing, was taking photos. And I did clay in college and through my student teaching, and I loved it. I missed it. It kind of was always like wanting to get back to it, but just never did. And after 6 years at that school, I got surplus because there wasn't enough sections for 2 art teachers, and they already got rid of a 3rd one. And they were like, "We'll put you somewhere, but we don't know where you're going to be." And they called me up and were like, "Hey, can you do ceramics and fire gas kilns?" And I was like, "I could do that, sure." I had no idea how to fire a kiln, never fired one. I did electric one during my student teaching, and that was like start, stop, and it like does all the work, you know?
Yeah.
So I like no idea. Blew up a bunch of stuff the first few times of student work, which was fun, and just
super awesome.
Yeah, and I told the kids, sorry, blew your stuff up.
Like, hey,
automatic A.
That's kind of that was kind of my whole idea behind like the title, because like it's so frustrating and so many opportunities for like shit to happen, and that's what ceramics is, and that's the world we live in as ceramic artists. Is like, there's a percentage of everything we do. It sucks though when it's like students. That's all. That's
because it's not your when it's your work. It sucks.
I'm the professional. I'm the one that's supposed to know what I'm doing, and I totally messed up your stuff. And sorry, let's make it again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so where did you go to college? You could remake it. I was Cal State Fullerton.
Okay. So who did you have there when you were the college classes you took? Do you remember? Was it like a grad student?
Yeah, it was grad student. I can't remember.
Well, it must have been really good.
But, yeah, he was cool. I liked him. He like did get me into clay and stuff, but you know, photo was my thing, and I kind of didn't really know anything about ceramics. That was the first like experience I kind of had with it. Really, I mean, I did some stuff like growing up there and here, you know, but like I never knew like I never knew the whole world of clay was out there. So yeah, I started doing it when I got transferred to the new school, and I just totally fell in love with it. And I was like, no, this is like what I need to do with art. I love my hand. That's kind of what made me fall in love with photo, was in the dark room printing, using your hands to make art and in a different way. Drawing is not where my skill sets lie. So totally in like the physical.
I've seen your drawings. I think you're pretty good at drawing. I remember you did some like illustrated like demo, like step by step.
Yeah, but that takes.
Was awesome. That was really.
You don't see the behind the scenes of lots of erasing and redrawing.
Yeah, but that's I know, I get what you mean though. You don't have like that natural like I can look at you and draw your face realistically in like 4 strokes.
Yeah.
I mean. Yeah, I'm the same way. I just use the tools available to me to like cheat.
Yeah,
I can to make it look like I know what I'm doing. Like, thank God for Google and a printer and like,
right,
whatever I have to trace things. And especially now, like as a teacher, kids want to do things. They want to do like logos, or like, you know, they want to put whatever Superman logo. Sure, like print out Superman and like, transfer it. Like, don't sit there trying to draw it 100 times. So that's the world we live in. It's pretty awesome. Anyways, so you have a
Go ahead.
So you have like a really cool like moniker or like a nickname, you know, and we talked for a minute earlier, like we did a little test, and I was telling you how it's kind of like in some ways as ceramic artists, we're kind of like pro wrestlers in our own way, and then we have like our gimmick and like our style or our thing, and you know, we have logos, you know, like we have things, and you like basically like you didn't change your name. I mean, you're still Mike Millam, but you're Mike Nightmare. Like, and everyone just in the art world knows you as like Mike Nightmare. So what's the story?
And I had people like, that's his real name. And so I was like, no, I just use it for everything. When I first started teaching and I was doing photo, and I was doing a lot of like pinups and burlesque style photos, and I was like, that's not probably the best thing for people to see as like a new teacher, young teacher. I don't know. I just kind of felt like it wasn't like the approach to have, you know, for horrible at playing music, but I like art, so I'm gonna be a rock star and have a fake name anyways.
For sure. Totally fun.
I just kept using it and it stuck, and now that it's kind of taken off, it's there. That's kind of the name I always go by, and it's cool. Gonna, you know, and
cool. It's totally cool, and it's fun, and it's like, why not? Because
I think it kind of feeds into everything I do and drives my work, and
you know. It totally fits, you know. It totally fits like as an artist, and then the style you kind of developed, like
Right.
Like from the ceramics that I know, from the stuff you've done, it's all super punk rocky and,
Yeah.
horror movie stuff and,
Yeah.
graffiti and like grimy
Yeah.
and dirty and, nightmarish, but not like, not
Yeah.
nightmarish, but nightmarish. Like, and it's
Yeah.
cool. Like, that's the thing.
Got that Tim Burton vibe.
Yeah, for sure.
I love horror B movies and all that stuff inspires me.
Yeah. What's your favorite like horror movie or like B movie, or what are your favorites? If you don't have a one.
I don't have
What are your top
one.
5?
Some of my top like horror B cheesy horror flicks are like Plan 9 from Outer Space. The one called Them, which is the giant ants that attack the city. Any Tim Burton movie I love. So I kind of also feel there's a little bit of that comedy side to my work as well, and there's that funny side.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't take what I do super seriously. I think sometimes as artists we can take ourselves too seriously. So I kind of hope to put a little bit of fun into what I do. I mean, poke fun at what I do, what I like, and all that. So.
Oh, my favorite thing was when I was in college and we would have critiques and like people would be crying, and it's like, yeah, I get it. Like, you put a lot, and we do as artists put a lot into our work, and people put different things. Like, I guess when people deal with like serious personal matters, I can see why if you do something about like abuse and you were abused, and people are like, your painting sucks. And you're like, like, oh, like,
but
sometimes it's like, oh, like you don't like my color scheme, and and it's like, I remember when I was in college, when I was in grad school, I used to really look forward to critiques because I wanted to get critiqued, but it was like, I wouldn't get. It was like, oh, I really like this, I like that, and it's like, oh, kick me in the nuts, like. I'm here to get like, I'm here for you to like pick at every little thing I do, and
that's how we get better is with like what don't you like as well as what you like. That's what I always frustrate with critiques. I get so mad. I'd be like, dude, just tell me. Like, I don't need to know what you like and be nice. Like, that's not gonna help me. Get better. No one would ever just be honest with you, so it was frustrating.
Yeah, no, I'm like super critical on my own stuff. Like, I always can find anything. I can find something wrong about every single thing I make, even little tiny things, And nowadays I'm so like detailed with every little like square millimeter that it's like, and I'm like, wow. Just remember just dipping things. Be like, oh, just dip it, wipe the bottom, and be like, boom, it, maybe dip it in colors. And now I'm like but it's all good. It's fine. So you made a decision, you and your wife. Your wife's a teacher as well, right?
Yes, she was a teacher and assistant principal. And the principal she worked with was like, all right, peace out. I'm moving over to Japan to work for DODIA, which is the Department of Justice. And she's working there as a principal on the Navy base in Yokosuka, which is like the largest naval base over there.
Okay.
And so that was like the kick in the pants we needed. Where Rebecca's just like, dude, I'm done. Like, I don't want to be an assistant principal. This is not where I need to be right now. Like, we need change. And I was like, I'm ready. Like, I've been doing the same thing for 12 years. Like, I could use change, and I think that'd be awesome. And we started looking into international teaching after we talked to her principal that she's really good friends with and was like a mentor for her. And we were just like, let's go for it. We've been talking about like moving East Coast overseas would be cool, and like we've been talking about it for like 3-4 years. Like, we're not getting younger, let's just go for it. Like, this seems like the right time.
Yeah, but you're still young. How old are you?
I'll be 39 in September.
Yeah, we're still young.
Yeah.
Like,
so I was like, it's the perfect time though, because we're like, we decided like we're not gonna have kids. We've worked for like 10-12 years in our districts. Like, it's the good time to just pick up and move. We're at a good age. So here we are. We ended up in China. We didn't think we were going to do China. It wasn't really on our list of places, but her principal at another site at her school recommended, hey, why don't you guys check out, I know this guy, he's starting the school in China. He used to be the former superintendent of education under Schwarzenegger. and now he's starting the school. Like, you guys should check it out. And so he sent our resumes in, and the guy called us like the next day. I was like, I really want to talk to you guys. Meet me at my house in Newport. And he interviewed us, and he offered the job right on the spot. So she's now teaching U.S. history, which is what she loves. But
awesome.
For me, he was like, we don't really have a job for you unless you want to be a dorm director. And I was like, okay, I'll do that for a year. That's cool. And he's like, yeah, then you'll be able to teach art. So this coming up school year, I'm going to move back to teaching ceramics and photography. So it's going to be cool. I get to kind of do the two things I love at this new school and build it and make it. No one really it's like kind of just be like, I need these things, and they get it for you, and it's crazy. So, and they're like, all right, go for it, go. And so it's going to be interesting to go from teaching 40 students to now teaching like 10 students in a class, because they're all about small class sizes and keeping them super small and personal. So it's going to be really interesting to see teaching that small of group to Clay, or before I was like, okay, every 40 people, have you tried to gather around and watch this demo that's hard to watch and get them to like do work, so it'll be kind of cool to see like how small class sizes affect the classroom dynamic.
And just like growing the like relationships with the like students like that, when you have that kind of like
you can really get to know them and really kind of learn all about them, so. And I found like for teaching, that was like the biggest thing for me, was like when I realized like building relationships is kind of like that turning point. I was like, oh, this is how you run 40 students in a class and and like not have problems and not have kids trying to get in trouble and throw clay at each other. And like you build those relationships, they kind of respect you more, and they may not be working and they may be goofing off, but they're not causing havoc in the art room, which I've seen in other classes. So
there's so much more of like being a teacher, and I think especially as like being an art teacher, that you're more than just like teaching them the like subject, and there is a certain like relationship I think you build I've learned as a high school art teacher that I kind of get to know my students better than a lot of my other colleagues that don't teach art get to know their students, just because the nature of, like I tell the people, the nature of my business is like I'm a waiter. Generally, it's like come in, get your stuff out, go to work. Once every once in a while, it's like present. And then I just like go around and just kind of, hey, how you doing?
Right.
What's going on? Okay, good. And then there's certain kids or tables. For me, it usually happens. I kind of get like, I like you guys. I'm gonna hang out with you guys, or they just get stuck at the table that like I kind of tend to work at when I'm like taking my rounds, and they you get to know those kids, and you have to get to build a relationship with them, which is like that's kind of what it's all about, like as I'm getting older,
that's what makes it fun.
How important like just relationships with people are. Like it's kind of really wanted to do this podcast, because I'm like, I feel like I'm in a little bubble, it's like I like hang out with my wife and kids, and I like come to the garage and like do ceramics, and I interact with people on social media, and it's kind of like and it's weird to call people nowadays, just be like, hey Mike, how's it going, just to like talk, because that's just not the way it works. It seems like, oh, I saw you on your stories, what you did, like why are you calling me, like I know you're
I already know what you're up to.
But thought this was a good excuse to kind of like call people and like become
it's cool,
build better bridges and friendships, and then like people that are listening can kind of like get to know us. And ideally, I think it's like this like podcasting thing is pretty like easy. Like I kind of it's Sunday night, I like Wednesday I was like, I'm gonna start a podcast on Wednesday, and like I'm sitting around with my kids, so I have a little bit of extra time to like stick around on my phone. So I kind of like found an app that like does a lot of the work, and I'm already familiar with iMovie, and GarageBand, and like
you already got it.
I already posted one thing, and it's gotten a good response. But it's like other people start doing this. Like podcasting is like
it's gotten so much easier in the past few years.
There's people listening to this right now in the future that are like driving or working out or centering their clay or waxing bottoms or glazing their stuff, and it's like that's time has become the most valuable commodity we have. So podcasting allows you to kind of like get information and multitask and be entertained, and like listening to this music is awesome, and I love music. Music's been a huge part of my life forever, but it's kind of like podcasting is cool, and I've been consuming a lot of podcasts over the last couple of years. So it's kind of like, like fuck it, let's throw a podcast every other podcast. My kids, I have 2 kids, 2 and 4, and half the stuff they want to watch all the time is like people on YouTube that like a dad and kids that make like videos of them playing with toys and like doing stuff, and it's like that dude those guys, they quit their job. Whatever they were doing, they quit their job because they were getting enough people to watch their YouTube videos, and they were making more money doing that than they were doing their real jobs. And like, I have very little expectations financially with this podcast. It's more of just kind of like, I don't know, it's fun, and it might suck, and only do like 3 or 4. I think I got at least 3 or 4 people that are like, I totally want to do it, and are pretty serious. So, but I think more people should do this. Like, I would love to be like, in a year from now, there's like 10 people doing ceramics podcasts that are like, we're getting more people, and the network is just getting bigger, and like the family is just getting like bigger, and we're like, it's kind of the weird where you listen to somebody on the podcast all the time, and it's like you think you know them, but you don't know. I mean, you know them to a certain degree, but like they don't know you, so it's like weird. And like that happens all the time, because there's people I listen to where it's like, oh wow, I feel like I know what he's gonna say before he says it. I know I'll react to something, and now like a lot of the podcasts are like on YouTube, so you can kind of watch it and like cut like imagery in. So I'm gonna try to do that with this podcast. You're the first one, so I mean it's gonna be a little choppy. I got a camera today, as I'm really good at like recklessly spending money, and I got a camera, but I didn't have time to set it up. So the next one, the video quality on my end should be better. This is my regular laptop one right now, but I think more people should start doing these podcasts, because
there's definitely room.
I think you and Rebecca should start a podcast.
We've talked about it. We gotta do one. I know. That's the thing. We're like, we just gotta do it. Sit down and do it.
Just do it. Like, seriously, like, you know how to do iMovie or right, a little. If you want to do YouTube, like, you can do it on your phone. You can do everything on your phone. Like, everyone should start a podcast.
Right. But just sit down with friends, buddies, whatever.
Yeah, because we don't talk to each other anymore. So now we talk to each other, and we record it, and we edit it, and we put cool music into it, and then put some cool pictures. Like, I'll put a picture of where you are, the city where you are compared to where you were. Like, your school now to the school, like, it's so many thousand miles away. Like, that's cool. I'll show it. I'm gonna show it right now. I'm probably gonna do it on my phone, or I'm gonna do it maybe I'll try it on my computer. I've just been using my phone for all my videos. So. Anyway, back to China. So after moving to China, like, what has the biggest, like, I'm sure you kind of expected there were going to be some challenges that you probably were like, there's a language barrier. There's maybe unfamiliar foods and can't read the signage. I'm guessing you don't read Chinese, right? So what have been like the unexpected challenges that you
trying to
happen? That this is like weird. Like, do you
there's
poop
one
toilet? Do you have to like poop,
do what?
Squat and poop, or do you have a toilet?
They got squat and poopers out here.
Yeah, so you don't have a toilet?
You have like a regular toilet in your house. There's Western style toilets in like major malls, stuff like that, but most restaurants are, if you gotta go, you're gonna be squatting on the floor going to the bathroom. So that's been like a thing to get used to, but it is what it is. I mean, you gotta go, right?
People have been pooping like that forever. I mean, I got a 2-year-old, and when he poops, he goes deep squat. Deep squat. He's like ready to play catcher. He's ready to be like Mike Piazza and just be like,
right.
So I mean, it's human nature. That's kind of how we're thinking. You ever saw that thing? It's called like the Squatty Potty.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Squatty Potty where you like, it's like a little stool, and then the commercial was awesome. There was like a guy
in the same position.
And there was like a video. The video commercial had like it was like a unicorn like pooping a rainbow like soft serve.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I'll put that in.
Yeah.
This is where your ice cream comes from. The creamy poop of a mystic unicorn. Totally clean, totally cool, and soft served straight from a sphincter.
Awesome. Yes, we need that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, language is of course the biggest thing in trying to learn it, because it is not easy. Because I'm gonna like totally mess this explanation up, but I'll simplify it. Basically, it's all. So you have like an up sound, a down sound, and like neutral sound, 3 different words completely.
Can you say that part
like
again?
Sure. So it goes like, the sound goes kind of like up, right? And it just stays the same, and then like down, and then down, up. So you have like 4 sounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
one of my best friends in high school, he was Taiwanese. Growing up, like 5th grade on, he was Taiwanese, and his mom was like, spoke English, but like moved here as an adult, so didn't speak English very well, and he spoke perfect Chinese, and I'd be at his house all the time, and they were always talking Chinese, and there's a couple words where I was like, "What did you just say?"
Yeah.
Like, oh no, you didn't say that. But there was like one word they would say it all the time, and I was like, "Dude, who gave you the pass to say that?" But they weren't. But it was like, oh, I don't think you can say that word.
No, I know what you're talking about. It's the way it's really pronounced.
And I'm an ignorant white guy from Southern California, so
it's not "ga," but it sounds.
Yeah.
You're like derogatory.
You're like a 12-year-old kid, 13-year-old kid, and you're like at your friend's house playing Mario Kart, and she's like, "Hey, you guys want a snack?" And it sounds like, "Oh."
Yeah. You're like.
Anyways, I kind of have a little bit of familiarity with the Chinese language and culture, in the sense that it's very complicated, and I remember one of the things which I'm probably you're experiencing that now, is when my friend growing up, his mom would cook all the time, and she would cook like real authentic Chinese food, and they would always, like I would always hang out there and like stay for dinner, and they'd be like, "Oh, what is it?" They're like, just eat it." I'm like, "Okay, it's cool." Like, it's just just eat it. I remember once we went to a restaurant, and there was like it was like a big family thing. I was the only Caucasian there. They were all speaking Chinese, and they had like the fish, like a whole fish. Yeah. And they're like uncle like gives me the eye, and it's like, "Yeah, eat the eye." And I was like, "What?" They're like, "Eat the eye." It's like it's like a compliment, It's like, okay, so it's like some rice, and let me just grab a little rice with it, and just kind of like, I'm like, cool, like, so What about the food there? How's the food situation?
It's different. It takes some getting used to, especially like going to the grocery store and just all kinds of meat just laying out, not really refrigerated, all like we're used to.
Different kinds of meats than we get
US.
here.
Yeah, different
all
meats.
The cuts.
There's just like, sometimes you go to the store and like all the pig heads are just sitting out there like on ice. And,
like,
you're like, okay, and so just all the fish is just all like, nothing's pre-packaged really that we're used to. Like, you can find that in certain stores, but for the most part, it's just everything's sitting out, and you just grab what you want, and they cut it for you, and they still, they got the butchers there, and they just wrap it up for you, throw it in a plastic bag, and
plastic bag,
yeah, their use of plastic out here is ridiculous. They use it so much, but they're actually starting to more and more be more environmentally conscious, and they actually have just like, we're like, yes, the environment is being destroyed, and we're part of that, and we're going to change it. And there's a lot of initiatives for solar power, electric cars. Shanghai's going to start finding people who aren't sorting trash and throwing trash in the wrong places. In the city we live in, they're going to start, I guess, following suit in that. And so they're actually, I think, trying to make a change, but it's, in China, unless it's announced publicly, like there's no problem, and like it's just things are kind of ignored, and like, well, that's just the way it is. And then like the government comes out and is like, no, it's a problem now. So now it's acknowledged. Now we have to do something about it. So that's kind of like an interesting thing to kind of experience and learn about. We're kind of here in like a cool time because just they're building so much and they're modernizing so much more than they had been. And I mean, they're a modern city, obviously, and but just so much more than like everyone's always, when I post pictures, like, oh, it's not what I expected. I'm like, well, it's China. They're modern. Like they've been open
China's
and
really
modern
big
for a long time. Yeah.
And you're right. And you're right by the water, right?
Yeah, we're right on the coast, right across from
I
South
just saw it in the picture I showed. My bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we get to travel with the school. We get both American holidays and Chinese holidays, so like another New Year. We have Golden Week in October, and then like some 3-4 day weekends here and there. So it gives us a lot of time. Like just in 1 year or less than a year, we went to Japan, we went to Korea, Shanghai, Beijing, Germany. So we've been like all these places.
Where would you recommend we go back? Like, where would you go back? If you had to go back to one of those places in Asia, not in Germany.
Japan is my favorite.
Where?
Japan's my favorite. Yes, I love it. That's kind of when we feel like, all right, we've done China, we've been at the school, like already move on. Like that's our goal, is to end up there next. So we're kind of working towards that. We'll see what happens.
Cool. What do you miss most about back home?
You know what? Because people go back and they're like, does anyone need anything? And I'm always like, I don't really need, like, most stuff you could find on Taobao, which is their Amazon, and it's like way cheaper. So like, even if it's an import product, it's not too much more than in the US. So if I'm missing like a candy or something, I can get that. You know, I don't find that I miss a whole lot of things. So like, I don't have to drive here. There's Subway. Everything's like really cheap.
I'm looking on your Instagram right now. So you have 2 Instagrams. For people that aren't familiar, you have an Instagram that at Mike Nightmare, which probably most people know you from. But when you moved, right? I think when you moved, you started the second one.
Yeah,
Artist Teacher Adventures.
Yeah, that's where I document more of the daily living and experiences that I've had, and like, I'm not missing a whole lot, to be honest. Like, I can get most stuff here, and I mean, there's days where, like, you know what I miss is being able to get on the internet and social media like easily and just watch TV. Those are like the things that I think I miss the most, that are the more difficult things to sometimes get on. So, but yeah, like, it's cool out here. It's different and it's still a learning experience. So
I'm looking on your Instagram, and it looks like this morning, you went to the market this morning.
That was an old
those scorpions.
Photo. But yeah, there's a street you can walk down, and they sell scorpions and grasshoppers and all kinds of traditional Chinese food.
And
I didn't try. I'm sorry.
You haven't tried them yet?
I haven't been that adventurous yet.
Have you tried anything?
I don't know if I give myself.
What's the weirdest thing you've eaten?
I don't know. I haven't really tried any like super weird.
You're just kind of having the regular.
Yeah, for the most part, you just, you know.
I normally say ramen and pocky
and stuff.
That's kind of your thing. Like, weird chips.
Yeah.
And there was some like weird meat flavored chip or something you had. That wasn't
like, they have squid and they
have beef noodle flavor.
Beef noodle flavor. That one was a weird one. They got kimchi. They got all kinds of interesting pork, grilled chicken.
They got some Doritos. Are they regulars? Are those regular Doritos? Yeah, those just regular.
Yeah.
Everything looks different in Chinese, so.
I know, right?
Pizza Hut.
Yes.
Okay, this is the one I'm looking for.
That's what I've gone full into.
Italian red meat flavor.
Yeah, that one was. It's just kind of tomatoey. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's like, what does Italian red meat taste like? It's just spaghetti, basically.
Yeah, like beef.
Cool. But yeah, like,
And I was like, you always post your nice little lunches. Those are your school lunches.
yeah, it's the lunch we get at school, which is like
Pretty good.
actually decently cooked food. Yeah, and it's included. We don't have to pay for our lunch, which is awesome.
The presentation is cool, and those nice little metal cafeteria trays.
Yeah.
It looks like they didn't all come out of a can or frozen.
Like, that's the thing out here. Like, a lot of the food's still like, it's fresh and it's more organic. It's so we have like a smaller fridge, and we can only buy so much food at a time.
So no trips to Costco.
Things go back kind of quick, especially in the summer. Yeah, so we got like once a week. So it's just kind of a different way of living. Like, we've become way less material, because if I'm out and I see something cool, like, if I buy it, am I gonna want to have to like move this around wherever I may end up next? And it's kind of cool. It's like, I don't really.
It's just stuff.
Yeah, it's just stuff, and we buy cheap furniture on Taobao, because if it breaks, big deal, we'll just replace it, or we're not going to be here anymore. So what's the big deal? Like, it's just a thing. It makes the apartment look nice, and like, we're not going to take it with us. We're not buying things that are like super expensive or anything. And like, my major expenses like so far have been traveling and buying pottery wherever I go.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so that's like a permanent thing I'll have forever, like added into the collection. So I've gotten like a stein from Germany, and some vases and cups from Korea, and stuff from Japan. So it's been cool.
All right. Let's see. What in your, you might have already talked about it, but we'll talk about your own personal stuff. What has been your biggest ceramics disaster? Like the biggest for your own part. I said, you told me earlier that you blew up a bunch of students' work, which I'm pretty sure most high school ceramics teachers have done. Sometimes blow stuff up because it's their fault, and sometimes you blow it up because it's your fault, and you blame them, even though it's like, deflect. Oh yeah, it's your fault, kid. Sorry, like you didn't poke a hole, or it was too thick, and sometimes you can kind of get away with it, even though it's like, oh, maybe I fired it a little too fast. But what about for your own personal work? What has been your biggest personal disaster? Because this is like, clay is a 4-letter word, so I'm sure you dropped a few.
My disasters are dropping things, hitting stuff all the time. I'm like so careless almost all the time. Like, I can take these 5 mugs out of the kiln that are still warm and probably way too hot to touch, and like pick them all up and then drop them when I'm like halfway to the table to put them on. And disasters like that I do all the time. Or I just reach over to grab a paintbrush and tip a thing over and break it. So my disasters are just being careless mistakes, not thinking about things, and just doing stuff without being like, oh, maybe if I just move that away from the edge, I won't knock it over. But that would actually, take some work to move that off the edge. So I'll just keep reaching for that brush in a dangerous way.
What has been, as a ceramic artist, or as an artist in general, do you have any significant injuries you've had? Any nice cuts or bruises or scrapes or anything, anything like worthwhile? Any like, metal rib of death in your hand, or any good?
I mean, I've got the standard like paper clip type cuts from a metal rib, but I haven't had any major incidences, luckily. Burned my finger a few times. No, I've had a pretty bad burn on a finger once from touching the metal tip of a hot glue gun.
Oh yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah, I taught 3D art for a while, and when I first started teaching high school, I taught 3D art, and I was all about cardboard. Like, I really liked cardboard. I mean, because cardboard was easy and cheap, and it's just,
Yeah, exactly.
You buy enough hot glue sticks, actually aren't that, they're kind of not that, So I'd buy a shitload of hot glue sticks and cardboard, and we would do cardboard stuff all the time. And I would have kids that would sometimes get like some nasty burns from the hot glue gun. And I remember I once had kids who were like being stupid and like burning each other on purpose. And that was one of the first times that I got like, an email or a call from a parent. Kid was burnt by so, and like I saw the kid's thing the next day, and I was like, oh God, like I'm the worst
Yeah.
teacher in the world.
Right.
Like I've been teaching for like 15 years, and it's been good. I really like my job, but like some of the stuff I've done and like said and like gotten away with, it's kind of like nothing I've like bad, but just little things like burning themselves or like
Yeah, you're like, I should have been on top of
I
but I
got other stupid things I've done. I'll probably end up telling them eventually, but yeah, it's pretty awful. So earlier today,
I'd say
last
though,
night,
my dumbest, I do have a dumbest accident where I was demoing how to use the X-Acto knife. Like, right, don't put your finger in the way, and then I'm all boom and just like slice my finger. And then the student's like, "Did you do that on purpose?" I did it on purpose. Like that's just me being dumb and talking to you, not paying attention. Again, all my accidents, not paying attention to what I'm doing, and I've dropped an X-Acto knife through and on my foot, and it went through my leather shoe and like stabbed me, and that was fun.
Yeah, that's good. I'm sure a few 4-letter words were dropped, whether externally or internally.
Probably both.
So I sent a Instagram story yesterday on my Instagram, and I asked people if they had any questions for you. So I have 3 questions from the listeners or future listeners. So the first one is from Nathaniel Sheets at Sheets_pottery. What has been the biggest struggle moving to China and making work?
The biggest struggle
stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of making stuff. It's almost been like a year off because being dorm director, like I can't just make stuff all day. I got to find windows that allow me to do that. And I kind of started a club, and that's been a struggle to get the club going and get the students like involved because things happen. It's a school, there's school events, and in China things just pop up where like, oh, the government's going to come out and visit you guys today. And so, okay, there goes that club because they got to be in a classroom and looking like they're learning. And so that's been my biggest struggle is just getting the time more than anything. So that's why I'm like so stoked to just get back to teaching because I could just dedicate again all that time to just making stuff. Finding some materials like that is, I would say if you like going back to what's like something you miss, like I miss Amico velvet underglazes because those just aren't here. No matter how much I search for them, that's like the one thing I haven't been able to really find. I've seen some of their glazes, but I don't really use their glazes. I love their underglazes.
You can't order. Is it shipping too crazy?
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And then, but I mean, there's another brand that I bought, but they're kind of limited on colors, and I don't know. I like the Amico brand. Those are awesome.
Yeah, they're pretty magical.
Yeah.
There's like there's somebody new. I'll post it. Somebody this new meme. Then there's a new ceramics person that's posting like ceramics memes.
Yes, those memes are magical.
Yeah, there was one that they did, and it was like, the guy looking at the other girl. Like, I'll post it. Everyone's looking at it right now.
Yeah.
But the guy looking at the girl, and it's like it's like mixing your own glazes, and then it's like commercial glazes,
and
it's like
glazes, that's for sure.
That's so like I totally
that's so spot on.
The cone 10 cone 10 reduction. Well, I started cone 10 reduction in high school. Then when I went to college, I ended up doing cone 5, 6 stuff because that's what we did there. And then at high school, I do cone 10, and then now I'm going back to cone 5, 6 because I'm doing it mostly for the kids because the kids really like, brushing the glazes on and doing that kind of like. They like painting.
Yeah.
They don't like
dipping. That's what I ended up doing after like 2 years. Yeah.
So man, I'll find the
we're gonna pop that meme up.
I'll find the meme page. I'll post it, and I'll, But yeah, that guy, whoever's doing those memes is awesome, and I got some kids, so I'm gonna throw together some of my own memes, and I'm on the Reddit Dank Memes page, and I'm one of those pieces of garbage that laughs at some of that stuff, so it is what it is. Okay, the next one is kind of related to the first question a little bit. You kind of started answering. Well, the next one's from Tama Carter at You Pinch It, You Pot It. And she asked, how has living and teaching in China influenced your work? Or how do you think it's going to influence your work once you get going? Or yeah, how do you think your new location is changing your work?
It's already kind of changing it, because I was like, I'm not going to just keep doing what I did back in California, because that was, kind of in reaction to me growing up and living there. And I was like, I want to make work that shows what I'm going through now, my experience now.
Yeah.
And it still speaks true to kind of the style I like. And so I love, street art, and I love, like, I find potholes on the ground interesting, and the signs of construction and different stuff like that interesting. And so I've been photographing all that stuff, and I've already found a place like $8 I can get a silk screen made, which is ridiculous.
Oh wow.
And so I already got some screens made, and I've been making with just, taking clay and rolling it out onto the different potholes around the campus.
Oh, cool.
Making texture slabs like that. So I'm going to try some with some plaster, and I have tons of ideas. That's kind of the one thing like that this year off has afforded me, is to just sit and just think and overthink. And so, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because then I kind of get in the studio when I do have time, and I'm just like, so many things I want to try. But I'm kind of moving in a direction, and I have a pretty good idea of where my work's going to go. And I think I'm going to do kind of stuff that speaks to like the streets out here, and also kind of just the easeability of getting things. Like, I could go on their Taobao. I love Taobao. It's a thing out here. Like, when you live in China, you're on Taobao all the time buying stuff. What is that? It's their Amazon.
Oh, okay.
But it's like way better. You could find so much more stuff on there, and it's not super expensive unless it's like a US import. It's generally like way cheaper.
Like Amazon velvet underglazes.
Yeah, which is the one thing I've been searching for and haven't been able to find. But yeah, like I could buy all kinds of like plaster molds already made, and they're like maybe $10 with the conversion, like.
Yeah.
So almost like, I think I'm gonna kind of make some work that kind of speaks to like the easeability of just producing things out here as well. And so I have some ideas of where I think the work's gonna go, and then it'll be interesting to see like when I start working with kids, like how is that going to influence it. And I know it is, because it always does. Like my teaching influences my art, and my art influences my teaching, and they both like they both work together. And that's kind of what I got the artist teacher adventures, because I'm an artist teacher, like one and the same.
Yeah, it's amazing how I know teaching has changed my work over time, because I'm always like, it's like, as a teacher, it's like the same every year, but it's different. It's the same curriculum, more or less. You have different students. As art teachers, we're allowed to change up the curriculum more than a lot of other teachers. Certain districts might be on you more. The district I'm at is not. I'm not beholden to doing like specific projects at specific times and having to do it in specific ways. It's more of like big ideas. But I always have to like go to the past and start with like the historical context, and I've like learned to appreciate the historical stuff like so much more over time. And I just think of like, where were we as a society like 10 years ago, 100 years ago, 300 years ago, like 1,000 years, 2,000 years ago. Yeah. And these mother effers were doing ceramics like 10, 20, 30,000 years ago. Like,
right. That's kind of a cool thing about being out here.
What was my tiny little brain, like how they were able to do that. And then that we're in the year 2019 with how much our society has changed, that we're still like doing pottery, and we're still making new pottery still, which is crazy. You think of like how many billions of people have made pottery over the years, and we're still finding like new forms or new combinations of forms and colors and textures, and interpreting things. I know like my work is kind of over the last probably like 10-15 years, I've always been much more like trying to put what my life has done. So like doing stupid robots and spaceships, and now I'm doing like sneakers and stuff, and like I always think of like, like time travel, right? If like Potter from Greece, 2000 something years ago came and saw what I was doing in my garage and saw my like, Air Jordan mug, he'd be like, what the hell is this? And I would be like, oh, look, it's like a shoe. And he'd be like, that's disgusting. Why would you
are you
drink out of a
making
shoe?
something like a shoe?
How gross that is what you're making. And it's like, oh, yeah, I am being like, yeah, drink out of your shoe. But whatever.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. It seemed like a good idea at the time. And
I think it's a cool idea. I like it.
It's keeping me out of trouble. So,
Right.
okay, last question. Brent Moser or Mosier. If I said it wrong, I apologize. But at Brent K. Moser, Moser, fellow high school ceramics teacher. I think he's in Riverside somewhere. Mike, you left an amazing job to do what so many of us often dream of doing. Do you plan to come back to teaching high school? Were you given a leave or sabbatical that would allow you to return to your district? P.S. It has been great following you on your adventures overseas. So, like, do you plan to come back to teach high school in the United States and California? And did your district kind of give you the window to sneak back in, or?
I've got this year, my job is still saved in the district, but not necessarily where I was at. So that's all kind of up in the air. If I come back, where will I be? What will I be teaching? But I don't know. So far, we love it out here. I may stay a third or fourth year because there's still a lot of great opportunities out here, and we're learning a lot. And Rebecca's looking to get her doctorate, and if we kind of do it out here, we basically, with the money we save, we can pay it all off and not have debt pretty much. So
hey, Bernie might look it up.
Yeah, there's a there's a lot of possibilities, but if we decide we're done after our 2 years, like I could come back and I still have my job in California, but we also kind of like we want to be on the East Coast is kind of like our goal. So
cool.
After moving here, like to me, I'm like I don't really have a solid plan, and we have ideas of where we want to go in our future, but nothing is like set in stone, and anything's possible. And I left that good job and I love it and I'd love to go back to it. But I'm kind of torn. Like, do I want to go back and just fall back into doing the same thing, or do I want to like continue this adventure? I kind of don't know how long I want to do high school for. I kind of would love to maybe move into college at some point, but right now I'm loving it. So I know that day where I'm just like dreading going to work, then that's like the time I'm like, okay, it's time to move on from high school. Cause I mean, I love teaching, but if I dread going into teaching ceramics, then that's just like something's not right there, so.
Yeah, it's not the teaching of ceramics, it's the kids that you have. It's like, I don't want to teach that kid.
It's all the stuff that goes along with education.
Yeah. All right, well, we're almost at about an hour. So last thing is, do you have any, I know this is stupid, but because of the podcasts I listen to, that's what they do. Do you have any plugs? Do you want to like tell everybody where to find you, or like what I have one question after this, but do you have any plugs or where people can contact you, or you want to mention your social again?
Yeah. So as we mentioned, Instagram, I have my main kind of artist page is just at Mike Nightmare. And if you want to follow my adventures here, living and teaching and working in China, it's at the Artist Teacher Adventures. And I have a website, michaelnightmare.com, if you want to be all official.
I'll post all that stuff on the screen.
Yeah, and that's all kind of where you could find me. I had an Etsy, but not really selling work at the moment. That's one thing I'm trying to figure out, is if I can keep selling stuff while I'm here, or what I'm going to do. And
then the last thing, I asked you to pick a song for your walkout music. So what was your song, and why did you pick it? Or
my song is The Damned, and the song is Neat Neat Neat. And I picked that song because it's just an awesome like song that's fast punk rock, and it just gets me pumped up and excited to like make work. When it comes on, I'm like, yeah, and like I just get into what I'm doing, and it kind of kicks like the creative side of me.
Yeah, it's
Going.
kicking the ass.
So, yeah,
shot in the arm.
So,
that's amazing how music does that. How music can just kick you in the ass like
which is
that.
what a lot of punk is for me. It's kind of like I listen to it, and it just, yeah, I don't know what it is, but it gets me excited. So that's definitely is important to me, and which is kind of why I started making all those punk mugs. So like I want to make something that totally like influenced me growing up, and that was like a big part of my life. So, and still is.
Yeah, what would those Greek guys say about your punk rock mugs?
Yeah. They'd just
Cool.
be like, what the heck? What is this? Why?
Yeah. What are you guys doing with your lives? Anyways, cool. I'm going to say goodbye, and I will talk to you after I stop recording.
Thanks for having me.
Cool. Hey, hope you enjoyed that. I know me and Mike had a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing Mike again, hopefully in person. And I'm doing this again tomorrow night. Right now it's Monday night, 11 p.m. West Coast time. I'm gonna take this, what I have here, and put this all together and ship it out to the YouTube verse tonight or tomorrow morning, and hopefully you're enjoying it. And I'll send it to my podcast thing that I'm able to do right now. I think I can do Spotify and another thing called Anchor FM, which is kind of what I'm using. And it should be out in iTunes in the next few days, and I'll post about it in my Instagram and stories. My Instagram is at Ryan Reich Ceramics. My name's kind of hard to spell, so at RYANREICH Ceramics. And my Instagram I'm using for this podcast is at Clay is a 4, the number 4 letter word. I think I'll probably post like minute clips every day. So little snippets of the post of the thing, and I'm going to try to do this once a week. I have an interview lined up tomorrow at Tim Ceramics, Tim Kowalczyk, and I have another couple interviews lined up. So I know I'm going to give you at least 3 episodes, unless it's totally terrible and I get shamed into podcast hell and decide never to do this again. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to probably bust out at least 3 of them, and maybe more, and maybe, I don't know. But thanks for tuning in and playing along. And again, this is Clay is a 4-letter word, Clay Art Podcast. Special thanks to my friend Brian Johnson, who helped me clean up the logo on my parental advisory thing, and thanks to my wife and kids who put up with editing this today. Well, I should have been a parent, and they're still alive. So anyways, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm still doing it. But when it's the C4 podcast, C4, it's Clay is a 4-letter word. And I think I'm going to make stickers.